Welcome to our College Briefing show, where we dive into the latest whirlwinds of news with a touch of ease and a sprinkle of humor. Today, we've got a mixed bag of updates that'll keep you on your toes, or at least entertained while you sip your coffee. First up, in the world of college hoops, Virginia Cavaliers have shown they're not just about historical landmarks and presidents, outlasting Boston College 66-60 in an overtime thriller at the ACC Tournament. Looks like they're not ready to go home just yet, setting up a date with NC State in the semifinals. Meanwhile, Stanford's men's basketball team is bidding adieu to coach Jared Hassa after 8 seasons of ups and, mostly, downs, proving that in college sports, patience is a virtue, until it isn't. Switching gears to the economy, it turns out the American dream of owning a home is getting tougher, thanks to sky-high prices and not enough houses to go around. The situation is so dire that even the promise of shelter inflation cooling down isn't enough to soothe the frustrated masses. And in tech news, Apple's playing catch-up in the AI race, snagging Canadian AI startup Darwin AI to beef up its tech arsenal. Seems like they're determined not to let ChatGPT steal all the thunder. Lastly, from the global stage, Bangladesh is rolling out the red carpet for big oil to explore its offshore treasures, while Australian Muslims are using Ramadan to amplify the plight of Palestinians. And for a bit of local drama, some Perth residents are apparently not tree huggers, choosing parking convenience over green canopies. So, if you're intrigued by Virginia's basketball saga, curious about the US housing pickle, or just wondering why Apple is suddenly all in on AI, you're in the right place. Stick around for the details, as we've got all this and more coming up. Please continue to watch for more in-depth coverage. Virginia outlasts Boston College 66-60 in OT, will face NC State in ACC Tournament semifinal. Associated Press. Virginia defeated Boston College 66-60 in overtime in the ACC Tournament on Thursday night. Reese Beekman led the Cavaliers with 11 points and 11 assists, while Quinton Post had 23 points and 13 rebounds for Boston College. The victory puts Virginia one step closer to securing a spot in the NCAA tournament. They will face NC State in the semifinals. Why are so many voters frustrated by the U.S. economy? It's home prices. Associated Press. The United States is dealing with a housing affordability crisis that has been decades in the making. America has failed to build enough homes for its growing population, which is hitting the heart of the American dream of homeownership and dampening Joe Biden's assurances that the U.S. economy is strong. During Donald Trump's presidency, the country's housing shortage surged 52% to 3.8 million units. The lack of housing has caused a record number of renters to devote an excessive amount of income to housing, with not enough homes being sold or built, keeping prices elevated. Average mortgage rates have also more than doubled, further worsening affordability. Biden's administration has confidence that shelter inflation will soon cool, however, the damage across several years is apparent to advocates and economists. Apple buys AI startup after being caught flat-footed by ChatGPT. South China Morning Post. Apple has acquired Canadian AI startup Darwin AI as part of its push into generative AI. The acquisition, which took place earlier this year, has seen dozens of Darwin AI employees join Apple's AI division. Darwin AI's core technology focuses on making AI systems smaller and faster, which aligns with Apple's goal of running AI on devices rather than solely in the cloud. Apple is planning to add generative AI features to its iOS 18 software and has promised to break new ground in AI this year. The company has fallen behind in the generative AI market but has started integrating the technology into its operations internally. Stanford fires men's basketball coach Jared Hassa after 8 seasons. Associated Press. Stanford University has fired men's basketball coach Jared Hassa after he failed to lead the team to a single NCAA tournament appearance in 8 seasons. The decision was announced by athletic director Bernard Muir following the Cardinals' second consecutive losing season. Hassa had a 126-127 record overall during his tenure at Stanford, with just 2 winning seasons. The team has not made it to the NCAA tournament since 2015. The new coach will face the challenge of leading the team into its first season in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Isaac Jones scores 16 points as number 22 Washington State beats Stanford 79-62. Associated Press. Number 22 Washington State defeated Stanford 79-62 in the Pac-12 tournament quarterfinals. The Cougars had 6 players score in double figures and shot 50.8% from the field. Washington State will now face either Colorado or Utah in the semifinals. This is just the 4th time the Cougars have made it to the semis and their first appearance since 2008. Stanford finished the season with a 14-18 record and announced that it had fired coach Jared Hassa after the game. Bangladesh offers win-win deals for offshore gas exploration. Nikkei Asia. Bangladesh is opening up bidding to international companies including ExxonMobil, Chevron, ConocoPhillips and China's Sinopec to explore 24 offshore blocks. The country's energy reserves could run out in less than a decade, and Bangladesh has experienced energy shortages and struggles to pay for imported fuel and gas from its fast-shrinking dollar reserves. Activists take public relations fight against Exmouth Gulf salt mine to Europe. ABC. Conservation group Protect Ningaloo has launched a campaign in Germany in a bid to halt the development of a major salt project near the Exmouth Gulf in Western Australia. The group has hired billboards in the German city of Kassel, home to salt company K+S, to raise awareness of the potential environmental impact of the project and garner support. The proposed development, which would involve clearing more than 10,000 hectares of wetland, has been criticized by environmentalists who argue it poses a threat to the Ningaloo Reef. This Ramadan, the pain of Palestinians is weighing heavily on Australian Muslims. ABC. During the holy month of Ramadan, Muslims around the world are encouraged to feel closer to God through reflection, charity, and prayer. This year, Muslims in Australia are using this time to show solidarity with the people of Gaza, who are currently facing a humanitarian crisis. Many Muslims in Australia feel that the government is not listening to their concerns and are calling for a ceasefire and reinstating of UNRWA funding to help ease the crisis in Gaza. While they feel powerless to do much from a distance, they are making donations and sending aid to help in any way they can. In a tense throwback, this ACC tournament game really mattered. Washington Post. College basketball has so many bracketologists these days, the likely NCAA tournament field is updated about every 15 minutes. Most of them try to copy the NCAA Tournament Committee's analytics-driven system for selecting the field, which means the so-called eye test often means little. Which is why a game like Thursday's second ACC quarterfinal inside Capital One Arena was unusual. It was truly an eye test game, or at least one in which the final score mattered more than any advanced metric. Even the bracketologists were in agreement. The winner of the Wake Forest-Pittsburgh game was a likely NCAA tournament team. Australian efforts on Islamophobia flagged despite Christchurch wake-up call. Al Jazeera. Australia has failed to reckon with its culture of Islamophobia and racism in the wake of the Christchurch mosque attacks in New Zealand 5 years ago, according to activists. The gunman was Australian, but there has been little soul-searching about the country's responsibility for the attack. Analysts have traced heightened Islamophobia in Australia to the leadership of John Howard and the 2001 Tampa affair, when a Norwegian ship carrying asylum seekers was refused entry to the country. Australia has also failed to confront its long history of violence against Aboriginal people. Activists have called for efforts to combat hate speech online, but also for community building offline. However, the Australian government has been criticised for its support for Israel's recent war on Gaza, leading to the cancellation of iftar dinners traditionally held during Ramadan. A recent inquiry into right-wing extremism in Australia also failed to publish its final report. Perth residents admit to ripping out newly planted verge trees citing parking, maintenance issues. ABC. Residents in the suburb of Seville Grove in Perth have been removing newly planted street trees from their verges, prompting concern from the City Council. The council has said that it can fine residents for removing the trees, but would prefer to educate them on the benefits of urban trees. Perth has the lowest tree canopy in Australia, with only 16% coverage. A study by the University of Western Australia found that having a tree on the verge could increase a home's value by up to $17,000. Hot shooting Wisconsin sends Maryland home from Big Ten tournament. Washington Post. Maryland's long-shot aspiration of completing a run to the Big Ten men's basketball tournament championship evaporated in resounding fashion during a loss Wisconsin, 87-56, in the second round Thursday afternoon at Target Center. We're told higher interest rates lead to lower inflation, but a leading U.S. economist says there is not much evidence to prove it. ABC. John H. Cochran, a senior fellow at Stanford University's Hoover Institution, has questioned whether raising interest rates is an effective way to lower inflation. During a paper presented at the Reserve Bank of Australia's annual conference, Cochran argued that there is little evidence to suggest that higher interest rates reduce inflation. He stated that inflation can come down without super-duper high interest rates and without the need for recessions. Cochran believes that the standard view is misguided and that inflation would have fallen even if central banks had not raised interest rates. He also suggested that higher interest rates can help to reduce inflation by raising the cost of government debt, leading to tighter fiscal policy. Cochran's comments come as the Australian government is set to deliver a small budget surplus, backed by high commodity prices, low unemployment, and high inflation. However, Cochran warned that Australia's surplus could be short-lived and that deficits could return in the future, potentially leading to long-term inflation problems. The passionate educator who defied polio to influence generations of women. The Sydney Morning Herald. Audrey Keown, a passionate educator and advocate for women's empowerment, has passed away at the age of 93. Despite contracting polio at a young age and spending 5 years in the hospital, Keown overcame physical challenges to become a respected teacher and drama director at PLC Sydney. She implemented innovative plans for incorporating speech and drama into the curriculum, and her work has had a lasting impact on the school. Keown was also a devoted member of her church and a beloved member of her extended family. Mind on Water, UWEC partners with Longfellow for project to promote drinking water. Yahoo! A recent study carried out by the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire suggests that exercise can help improve focus and cognitive skills in children. The study focused on third graders, who took part in a Mind on Water session followed by a series of stretches. The students were then asked to complete a series of tasks, which showed improvements in their ability to concentrate and focus on their work. The study highlights the importance of exercise in promoting cognitive development in young children. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.